welcome back to today's Women's Show. As always, my sponsors are Lydia Female Contraceptives. With Lydia, you decide. Now, I didn't mention that we were going to be talking about women in ICT in Ghana, and you should see the ladies I'm going to be chatting with shortly. Two petite, lovely ladies who are actually CEOs of their companies. So you see, ICT is not a bad trade to go into, so get yourselves ready. Before we do that, here's a short film. Please watch.
Maybe we should blame our teachers. From yesteryear, well-meaning teachers and other educational stakeholders were more inclined to encourage boys to excel in mathematics because they saw science and maths as too strenuous on the gentle feminine mind. They believed that girls are more inclined to arts and the social sciences, and this made girls who were curious about science and maths to be laughed at and seen as anomalies. It has taken decades, but gradually this assertion is being destroyed. Across the globe, more girls are encouraged to pursue and study science and mathematics-related subjects. Ghana has also woken up to this fact, and successive governments have put in place measures to ensure that more girls are encouraged to excel in science-related subjects. In 2012, World Telecoms and Information Society Day focused on women and girls in ICT. In Ghana, there was also a conscious effort to highlight the impact that women have made on this sector. Women like Patricia Obonai, CTO of Vodafone Ghana, Estelle Akofio-Sowa, CEO of Google Ghana, Anne Amuzu, CEO of NandyMobile.com, Sheila Penelope Bartels-Sam, CEO of InChargeGlobal.com, and Florence Toffa of Mobile Web Ghana Foundation were named and honored on that day. More recently, new kid on the block Regina Ajari, CEO of Stronco Solutions, has been featured on CNN African Voices, was invited to participate as a member of this year's Young African Leaders Initiative hosted by US President Barack Obama, and recently spent 3 days as part of the youth and the UNDP. Indeed, Ghana is making great strides, but is there enough being done to support young women in this field at the grassroots? Ghana prides itself on being the first country to win independence south of the Sahara. Another first that should be celebrated is the appointment of the first female country manager of Google. But how many people know this? Globally, there is a shortfall of 2 million skilled ICT professionals. And since a Ghanaian is Africa's father of the internet, it behoves on all stakeholders to increase the support and logistics to encourage more girls and young women to carve a niche in this sector.
Well, viewers, you've just seen the short clip, and I'd like to introduce my guest. To my immediate left, I have Regina Ajari, who is CEO of Stronco Solutions, and then sitting right next to her, very beautifully, and just looking at my face, is Anne Amuzu of Nandi Mobile. You're both welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, I did say that petite ladies, you know, when I read what the producer sent to me, it's a CEO of this, and then I see you now, and you're just very, you know, but congratulations. I'm truly humbled to have the two of you here with me. So now tell me something. Where would you place Ghana when it comes to ICT? I mean, how do you think we're faring globally?
I think Ghana is in the starting stages. So we are kind of still in the initial stages of embracing ICT. We've done some bits, but we are still in the developmental stage, and we now need to shoot up. So we have adopted, some people are adopting it, and we are growing, but we are not there yet.
You're not quite there.
We are not quite
but
there.
Do you think that for example, because this is all to do with education, isn't it? Do you think that the Ministry of Education or the bodies, the powers that be, are actually giving as much attention to ensuring that this field is growing at par with the West?
Well, I know like there was a Better Ghana project where they gave out laptops. And I know there's a strong emphasis on getting ICT into the schools, but the question is always about quality and not quantity.
Of course.
And it's about what is being taught. So ICT is very practical, and it can't be something that you read or something that you go in.
It's a hands-on kind of thing.
It has to be hands-on. If it's not hands-on, I mean, it's not, you're just not going to catch up with the rest of the world, because in other developed countries, by 13, 14, you have somebody who's started, an ICT company or a software company who's actually built a product that's being used by millions of people. But here it's like there's a lot of theory. It's a lot of root memorization. You have all these things like input devices. I really don't like that kind of thing, because I mean, it has to be practical, then you get it.
But are we teaching ICT or are we teaching computer studies? Because there is a difference, I realized. Are we teaching, claiming to be ICT? I mean, sort of, the subject is titled ICT, but then we are really teaching computer studies.
Well, yeah, I mean, computer studies, as the name implies, is the study about computers. So you can learn about the supercomputer. This was the first computer. This is a motherboard. This is a desktop. So that's computer studies. So fair enough, but the question is it relevant information for today's world? We've gone past all that. Now people are not learning about motherboards and stuff. They're learning actually how to create technology. So if you're going to play catch up, then you have to teach what is relevant in today's world. It's not about this is a monitor, because by all means, by learning how to create technology, you will figure out that this is a motherboard. Those are the tools that you are using. So you will understand your tools.
Okay. Now, I mean, I saw on the short clip they were talking about people getting children interested in science-related subjects, mathematics, and etc., etc. Do those have a direct bearing on whether or not you're good at ICT? Do you need that? I'm going to ask that to Anne.
You don't necessarily need that. So I will put ICT users into different categories. There are those who use it. You don't necessarily have to be a builder, and there are those who build it. If you are going to build it, you have to know science and maths, because that's what you need to build it. But if you are going to use it in your business or use it in the classroom, you don't necessarily need those things. They might even actually help you learn any subject at all. Like if you're learning economics, or you are learning social studies, or you are learning other things, you can use ICT to help you learn it better. So in that case, you don't really need to know much about science and technology, because you are using the technology. But if you are going to be a programmer, then definitely you need to know some science.
So what you're saying is that then there are two branches of ICT. I mean, it's taught for the user and it's taught for the developer.
Yes.
Interesting. And at what stage do you get taught for the developer? Because I think that what they're doing in schools now is actually teaching for the end user.
Yes.
So that the children are using technology a lot more in what they're doing. So obviously to learn how to develop, you've got to do that at a tertiary stage.
Not necessarily. So she said there are people 13 years, 14 years who are actually
That's in the West.
building. In the West, yes.
Not in Ghana.
Actually in Ghana, there are a few people who are doing it, and he's in SS1 right now. He's built a mobile application. So it's not, I think it's about the interest, and that's one of the interesting things about ICT. You don't necessarily need to be taught in class. You can self-learn.
It's about a passion.
It's about the passion. And because there are lots of resources on the internet now where you can learn it by your own. That's if you want to be able to develop. So we can push it to the tertiary stage, but as individuals, you don't need to get to the tertiary stage before we can learn how to develop using ICT.
Now, before we went on air, I was having a chat with you, and I was saying to you that, you put a telephone. Children now are techie savvy from as little as babies. You know what I mean? You give a baby a telephone, which is a sort of a device, and they know the send button and the end button. You know what I mean? You can't expect, you give it to them sort of innocently. Next thing you say, they are ringing people, and they know what button to press. Now, we kind of think that because at that age, they're able to, use these devices, and that translates into them in later years being very techie savvy. But there's no real correlation, is there now?
Not necessarily. I mean, you have the millennials, and these are young children that get technology because it's very intuitive. They just figure out from trying, like the red button does this, the green button does that. So after a while, they figure it out. just because you're a great end user, that does not necessarily mean that you'll be a great developer, but it does not necessarily mean that you won't.
Okay.
I mean, so you can start developing an interest for it. I'm sure Anne will tell you that most of us that are developers got it from interest. So I played Pac-Man, and I loved Pac-Man, so I wanted to take it further than just me watching the yellow ball eat the white balls. I wanted to make my own Pac-Man. So it always starts from something. So maybe the kid is playing with the phone, presses the red button, presses the green button, and starts to think, why don't I build an orange button for something else? So that's how it starts, so there can be some people that will be great end users, and there can be some people that will want to take it a step further.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Regina, you said you started with Pac-Man. When did yours start?
Mine started, I think, after JSS. It's not JHS. I'm not used to calling it. But I was using the Microsoft products at that time. So my mother was forced to learn Microsoft Word and PowerPoint
so that she could help you, or for her work?
For her work.
Okay.
Yeah. If it were for me, I don't think she would have done it.
That's me.
It was for her work, and at that time I was at home doing nothing, so I found myself in her office, and she gave me the chance to, at least when I learn how to do it, I can also teach her, so that she can get it faster, because she realized when you're younger you get things faster.
So you have that knack earlier.
You get it faster. So kind of I was just using it for playing around, designing birthday cards for nobody in particular, just creating stuff. So it's about whether you want to use technology to create stuff, or you just want to use it to help yourself. If you want to create stuff, you become a developer.
Okay,
if you want to use it, you just become an end user.
Okay. Now, your first developing. We're going to talk about the women. We've spoken about ICT in general, but now we're going to talk about it pertaining to women, because in the past, I guess it's the 21st century and things have changed, but earlier on, it was presumed to be a more male-dominated field. I'm very flattered that I've got two women who are both in the same thing, but then it was more of a male thing, wasn't it?
It definitely was. So I got the interest from JSS when I first interacted with the computer.
Okay.
And I remember I switched from wanting to be a doctor, which was what I was told to do. When you're good in science and math, you get there, you're going to be a doctor kind of thing. And I wanted to do computer science. And at the time, I was the only one in my class that wanted to do computer science. So every time I said, that was an SS, that I wanted to do computer science, it was so strange to everybody. And I didn't see a lot of women that were doing computer science. So to be honest, I didn't even believe 100% that I would
actually do it.
It was just something that I thought, okay, I think I would love to do.
Ignored at your heart, and something you wanted
I want to do computer science. And when I went to university, so I went to Ashesi University.
Okay.
My first computer science class was Visual Basic. I finished the exam first because I was very bad at it. In fact, during the exam, people would be writing. I was
and you're just looking around, and you're the one who had nothing to write.
I had nothing on my paper. I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? I'm bad at Visual Basic. I just couldn't do it. So
what was Visual Basic about?
So Visual Basic is a programming language, and it's more on the sort of Microsoft side, and it's actually very easy.
Okay.
It's one of the easiest.
It's one of the easiest. So that was like the entry. Yeah, that was the entry point. It's one of the easiest ones, and I was horrible at Visual Basic. So I sucked literally. So when I left the class, the exam, I was going to change my course. I was like, who has sent me all this computer science thing? Let me go and do business. And there were only 3 girls in the computer science class. So
sorry to interrupt, but was your lecturer female or male?
Male.
Okay.
My lecture was male.
Okay.
So I was walking in to change my course, and then kind of literally halfway I stopped, and I was like, okay, so from SS I've been disturbing everybody up how I'm going to be a computer scientist, and my first class, am I going to give up like that? This cannot be the way. So I turned back, and then I worked at it day and night endlessly. I was coding when there was nothing to code. I was giving myself things to do. And during the time, like, we would do group work, and people would share
their thoughts and what they were doing.
I would do the whole project by myself, just because, and I feel like that made me a better coder, because I had gone through such a difficult time getting into coding that I worked twice as hard. So I was like coding non-stop all the time.
And when you say you're coding, what is that?
So
you're talking to a layperson here,
So coding is like a language that you speak to the computer.
Okay.
So you give the computer a set of instructions.
Okay.
And the computer does something. So in order to communicate with the computer, that language is called coding.
Okay.
So
you were sitting there talking to a
computer.
computer.
Talking to the computer.
So what was the first program you wrote?
So let's see. Oh, that was a long time. Let me think if I can remember. I think the first program I wrote, normally when you do after Visual Basic, we did Java. And Java, the first thing that you do,
JavaScript. Yeah,
that's different.
That's yes, okay.
And with Java, you know, you just, there's like a black screen, and then some words come out.
Oh, okay.
And I think it was either temperature conversion. That's one of the very popular ones. So you just write a piece of code that comes on the black screen that converts from Fahrenheit to Celsius. So that was even my first little piece of code that I did.
And you enjoy it. How did you feel after that? Very fulfilled?
Very, very fulfilled. In fact, you know, there's a feeling that you get when your code runs. I'm sure Anne can talk about it. You know, it's like you just hear somebody like this, absolute silence, and hear somebody go, yoo-hoo, jumping, and
that's why people think that it's only nerds. People who talk to themselves, you know, geeks who are always doing the coding. But for you, when did you, I mean, I know you said you started doing it, the interest came when your mother had to use a computer, but what made you then say that this is what I want to do, and I want to go into computer, sort of ICT?
So in SS, I was quite close to my elective maths teacher, and he had the key to the computer room.
So are you science-based as well?
Yeah, science.
And you were strong at science as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had the key to the computer room, so I had the chance to be going there more often than other people. And that was when I set up, I think before that I set up my first Yahoo mail. So I'll go there and go and check my mail and all that. And because of my strength in maths and physics, I really didn't like biology. I decided, okay, I'll do engineering. Then I had to choose what kind of engineering I would do. And I thought, computers are very interesting, so why not do computer engineering? So I ended up doing computer engineering in the tertiary. Like, it wasn't really my family or my teacher's choice. They wanted me to be a doctor, but...
We're still suffering from this thing, because you're years later. Yeah, once you're strong in math, physics, chemistry, everybody thinks you're assigned you have to be a doctor.
You have to be a doctor, yeah. So I ended up doing computer engineering in tech. Yeah, so I went to tech.
You went to tech.
Yeah, so in the beginning it was a bit interesting, where it was the beginning of but because it was engineering, we were learning more mechanics and all the engineering, so you get to understand all the engineering. I think it was in the second year that we kind of tried to delve into computer engineering, and it wasn't interesting because it wasn't practical. It's like
you wanted to get your hands into it.
I wanted to do something, and here we are talking about some delta X. I'm sure the engineering students
know what
delta X is and all that. Some weird maths I'd never seen before. For the first time, I thought maths wasn't good for me because I just couldn't get the maths that we were doing in the university. But when we got into the real coding, that was when I was like, okay.
That's when it actually sort of came to you.
Came to me that this is where I'm supposed to be.
Now, so apart from that, what real training did you need to go in there? You didn't, maths wasn't, like you said, it's not really important to have the maths and things like that, is it now? What other training did you need to be able to go in to do what you're doing today?
It's a business, so you also need the business part, but apart from that, you need to self-learn a lot of things because programming languages change every now and then. The school might be very current and teach you the latest programming language, but you get out of school and there might be another new thing you have to learn to do. So it's about whether you are motivated enough to keep up with the trend and learn the new things that are coming up. Because if Apple has a developer conference right now, you know there's something new coming you have to learn if you want to develop for Apple. If Microsoft has a conference right now, they'll come up with something new you have to learn how to do. So if you want to keep up with the trend, it's about whether you are ready to learn and keep up with the trend.
And that's one of the very vital things
very
vital things that is needed. So they're changing all the time.
Changing every
So then you're constantly learning.
Yes, you have to want to learn. If you're not ready to learn, forget it. Because you cannot.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work that way.
Now, talking about what is happening now in Ghana, what do you think the problems really are? And I'll ask that to you, Regina.
First, I think we're not getting enough skilled people in creating technology because it's not something that's being taught early enough. I feel like when you learn it, it's late. People should learn how to code when they're children, and I feel like how the world is going, we should start early, and that's why we have Techniques Girls, but I'll talk about that later. I also think that the other problem is that there isn't enough support for great local developers. So there's amazing talent. I mean, you would be shocked at some of the things people can create. But without the right support, it's hard for people to sort of come out and come up with all these cool creations, because you have to eat. There's a term that we call developers are hungry. So there's a hungry developer term. So I mean, you have somebody who is very skilled. If they move out of Ghana to, let's say, a developed country, 360-degree change of their life. But if they stay here, it's difficult. You have people that are not paid what they are supposed to be paid. You have clients, especially because you are selling an intangible. So I come to you and I say, I have this software. You press a button and it works. And if it's even user-friendly, that's even the worst. The person will be like, I just did this and this and this happened. And you want to charge how much? You know? So they don't understand what goes into developing it. That's so hard. But if you sell a tangible, like a bag, you're like, oh, this is leather, feel the quality, okay, I'm charging you this. The person's like, okay. But once it's a service, it's very hard. Pricing is an issue, and also even getting people to sort of come outside and think outside the box, you know, because at the end of the day, most developers are really thinking about, you know, making some money, because, you know, there isn't a lot of support for the, you know, the tech sector. And I think if that isn't corrected, you're going to have more people who are sort of going out or stop doing it, and you have other people that are not like coming up with some of the cool inventions that can move Ghana forward. Because I believe technology can really bring change, and I feel like we need to support the industry.
We need to support it. Now, how can we support the industry?
So first, the educational system has to be a bit more practical. That's the beginning, because in the early stages, children learn very fast. So we have to get them to be users. If you are teaching them to be users, let them be users very fast, so that those who go on to become creators can go on to become
sort out those who are creators and those who are users.
Yeah, and then the second thing is we should learn how to use our own technology. It's very annoying when you're selling to, say, government, for example, and they would rather go for technology outside of Ghana rather than what you have developed. Now, she's talking about hungry developers. It's because no one is buying what they are building. If no one is going to use it, why build it? It means you're also not going to get the money for building it. So let's learn to use our own technology. Yeah, there might be a few bugs we are still learning, but if we have to use it so that the people developing it can make it better. So it's about the right practical training, and then we should use our own technology. If you use our own technology, it's not every technology that needs investment, sort of, but if people are using it, you can go on.
Let's go. Yeah. Now, you guys are trailblazers in your industry. What are you doing to try and make sure that, as you said, the younger generation, and especially the female generation, are actually getting techie savvy earlier? I mean, you have Techie for Kids,
Techniques Girls.
Tell us a little bit about Techniques Girls.
Techniques Girls is a mentorship program, and it's run by mentors who are all females in computer science and engineering. So somebody like Anne would be, it's an excellent mentor, because girls need to see other women who have excelled in the field. So if I tell you, you can be a female astronaut, but you don't see any female astronauts, it's like
you have no role model.
Exactly. So they need role models, and what we do is we teach girls how to code, how to create technology. So we're sort of churning out the creators, and we start with girls from 6 to 18. So we start them really early, and we started off with 50 girls in Kumasi. We now have 455 girls. 455 girls. Yes.
Well done.
So we're in Kumasi, we're in Accra, and we're also in Nima. So Nima is our biggest group. We have girls from Nima, Mamubi, and Kotobabi that come to a center called Achievers Book Club. So where we have the training center is like on top of a mosque, and every Saturday we have coding classes with these girls. And once they are done with the training, we've actually partnered with 2 software companies. They get internships and sort of on-the-job training and even money, because what I want them to do is have this skill that they can use to economically empower themselves, because the challenges in that community is, you know,
very vast,
and early child marriage is one of the problems, and they may not be able to go to school. So I want them to be able to even pay for themselves to go to school. And so that's one of the things that Techniques Girls is trying to do, is trying to get more women tech entrepreneurs, more women creating technology, and more women just using technology to solve social problems,
to solve to advance them, themselves. Really,
also to
literally
advance
them.
themselves.
Now, Nanti Mobile. What does Nanti Mobile do exactly?
Nandi Mobile is a software company, and we focus on creating communication channel between companies and their end users. So that's what we do.
So basically, I'm a company. What do I need, for example, to be? I mean, is it if I want to market? Is it for marketing tools or for what?
It's for marketing and also for customer support.
Okay.
So you are a company, you need people to get to you. You can either go for a call center, which is very expensive, or you rely on your email, which not everybody will send you. So we give you an SMS communication tool so that you can communicate with your clients via SMS and also mobile applications, because Ghanaians are moving a lot also towards mobile applications.
Okay. Yeah, now you did mention earlier that we should learn to patronize our own products, literally. Made in Ghana, we've been talking about that, for tangible things and then intangible things, as we spoke earlier. Now, do you think there are programs that are specifically tailored to us here, that need to be specifically done here instead of going away and bringing in?
Some products, yes, because if for the product I told you about, it might not fly outside of Ghana because they have a lot of internet access. A lot of people are already online, so customer support via SMS might not make sense to them. But Ghana, we have our level, and even our culture is very different. So there are a lot of technology that can be created, tailored specifically for the Ghanaian market, and also for Africa, because Africa is a bit kind of...
It's a totally different thing. Now, I mean, I'm not even going to mention my age, but I'm not 6 to 18. But if I wanted to learn coding, how easy would it be? I'm very good with the computer. I'm not scared.
It's actually very easy. So
says the person who knows it very well.
So the challenge is always how it's taught. I'm sure, like, if whatever it is that you're passionate about, you can teach it in a certain way. So how we teach it is we do it in such a way that it appeals to our target, which is young girls. So there's something called algorithms, and algorithms is just like a series of steps that you take to execute a problem, and we use Azonto to teach it. So,
oh wow!
So we have the Azonto algorithm, which is our favorite thing. The girls love it. And Azonto is a dance that involves a series of steps. So the way that I know that you are dancing Azonto is you do certain moves. If you don't do those moves, you're not dancing Azonto. Exactly. So we use that same logic to teach it, and the girls get it. So it's really about how you teach it, and you can teach it so that it's relevant, so that it has a lot of local context, so that you see it in your mind how you're going to use it. So you think, okay, I want to maybe do A, B, C, D, and I need to do this. So whatever it is that we teach you, you think, okay, this is what I need to do to get this done. Soon you start to learn it. So coding is very easy, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a coder, but it's really like a language. So imagine that you're communicating with somebody, you want the person to do something. We all learn different languages, right? So it's the same for coding. You just need to understand what goes into the language.
The language. So there's no age limit to who can start coding.
No age limit.
What's your oldest student you've seen coding, though?
Wow, oldest. Actually, I met a woman who was in her 50s.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So then I have hope then. Now, what do you think we need to do here in Ghana to ensure that we're having more women coming into the ICT profession?
It's about them seeing that people have done it and it can be done, because if you look at even the Western world, all you hear is Bill Gates, and they are all men, so it's very difficult to know about the female ones. So it's about the role models being projected out, and also it's up to the role models also mentoring the younger ones. It's very, very important. So personally, I think the women who are in ICT should also mentor the younger people, and they should project themselves so that the younger people can know that it can be done, because the males are getting into it, not because they think that they can do it, but because they've seen men do it. Men do it.
It's a male-dominated profession.
Let me just do it. If I will get money out of it, why not? But the females are not seeing enough females.
But Regina, were you astounded at the number of women who came along with your Tech for Girls?
Techniques Girls. Yes.
Techniques Girls.
I was, and as Anne is saying, you can see that if Anne got like an opportunity to mentor other girls, she would jump on it 100%. And most of the women that are in tech, we would like to get more women. When I worked, I was the only female in the IT department at 2 banks that I worked at, and it can get lonely, and every woman who is in tech would love to sort of pass the baton to the next generation. So it's something that was very easy. I am so blessed with the mentors that have made the program what it is. They are really like the backbone. I'm just sort of like, you know, happy to have them, you know, give their time and, you know, come and mentor these girls and train these girls. So it's really about creating that platform. I'm sure there are many women in tech that would be, and I've actually met several other women since Techniques Girls sort of came out that have called me and said, oh, we would like to come and mentor, we would like to come and, you know, reach out to these girls. So you can see that the women that are in it would like to sort of reach out to the, you know, the younger generation.
But have you thought of taking it to actually the schools?
So one of the things that we're working on is a curricula, because like Anne and I said, you know, the curricula is not practical enough, and we are developing a curricula that we want to take to the government and say, okay, so we've built this curricula, we've used it to train these number of girls, these are the case studies, this is the impact report. We don't want to just go with them like, oh, we have this idea. Exactly. We want to go to them with something,
hard facts,
that has worked, you know, that has worked on a different scale at different levels. And so that's what that's one of our ultimate goals, to change the curricula, because we don't think it's practical enough. And if we've been able to be successful in using it to train girls that had never even seen computers before, we think that the government can use it to train, you know, most of the Ghanaians. And technology is the future. It's where we're going. So imagine that this time around, Ghana sort of leads the curve instead of us playing catch up. We are actually sort of building solutions that people are looking at us and going like, wow. In the UK, they just passed the bill that says by September, all kids are going to learn how to code. All kids.
To learn how to code?
All kids.
Aren't we going to have more hackers that way?
Well, I mean, depending on how you look at hacking, but I mean, hacking can be good or it can be bad. You can use your skill for anything. So you can have somebody who is a good accountant and steals money from the company, or uses his accounting to balance the books well. So as for the skill, I mean, there's always
like everything, there's a yin and a yang. There's always a good and a bad.
But we don't always have to, you know, sort of play catch up. And like Anne said, we have to patronize our own products, because there are some products that work better in this market. You know, like when I went to America, I would say WhatsApp. They were like, what is WhatsApp? I mean, everybody uses WhatsApp here. You know, it's like, but there they were like, what is WhatsApp? And I remember the first time when I would flash somebody, a friend of mine came and said, what is this flashing thing, you know?
Why? So it's a totally different market.
Totally different
Our
market.
cultures are different, naturally.
Our cultures are different, yes.
Our cultures are different. But did you have any challenges setting up your company?
Yeah, definitely. The adoption. So as she said earlier, you go to someone, you're selling something very intangible, and ours is even worse because you don't install it on your computer. You just go to some URL or some web address and then it shows up. So what am I paying for again? Yeah, so because I already have the browser, it's not like you installed anything on my computer. Yeah, so the adoption was kind of a bit difficult. And even after adopting it, you have to train people over and over again to use your technology. So now they understand that they need it, but how to use it also, you have to kind of invest in that. Whilst in other places, you just
give it to them and
and they are good to go. So
you've reached a stage now, I'm hoping, that you're not actually going scouting for new business, and that you've made a name for yourself, and people are actually coming to you.
Yes,
they are coming. They're coming to you. So it's less strenuous now.
Yeah, it's less strain. Of course, when you are beginning, it's always difficult. Of course, you can't also just sit down. Maybe now you target bigger people rather than the smaller people, but the small companies come to us, and we also reach out to the bigger companies.
What has your greatest challenge been in this field?
I think my biggest challenge is finding the right people. So finding skilled talent or people that can help you sort of grow your business is not easy. So I have a for-profit and a non-for-profit, and I'm not balancing it as much as I'm supposed to, and that's because I don't have the right team. So my team is wonderful. The team that I have for the for-profit and the non-for-profit, excellent team, but I could get more people, and finding skilled developers who are committed and have a certain work ethic is not that easy.
Is your challenge?
It's one of my challenges.
But can't you find that you're running with kids, so really can't you go to the universities, your alma mater, places like that, and try and pick the top of the class, the crop of the class?
Well, I mean, I could. Ashesi has the best students, in my opinion. And
she differs.
And I could go there and pick, the best. But obviously, excellent talent, you have to pay them at a certain
Yes,
rate.
premium.
So exactly, and you have to sort of balance it out. So I can maybe afford to have 2 or 3, but I would like a team of 10 people. But I cannot necessarily afford to take 10 Ashesi students because they are of a certain quality, and I have to pay them, at a setting. So and also there's some time that is lost with you training them because the market is not waiting for you. So you have a client that wants a product now, and you need to move, and you can't say, oh, my staff, they are still undergoing some training, so give me 2 or 3 months. No, there's somebody who can deliver tomorrow. So you always have to make sure that you are also competitive. You are also, coming out with solutions that is ahead of what the market is doing. So it's really balancing all that. I have some staff that I'm training, but I also need to stay, because there can be somebody who, technology is always changing. Somebody can come tomorrow with a better product than what I have. So I always have to make sure that I'm also
a step ahead. How do you deal with competition, Anne?
So first, you get closer to your clients because technology is about how it feels a need. So if it's feeling the person's need, then the person uses it. But if you get out of touch or out of trend and someone comes with a better product, you're out of business. So you keep up with the trend, keep up with what your clients need. That's how you beat technology, you beat competition.
Now, we're very set in our ways in this country, and we don't like change. Hasn't that been a sort of a challenge for you to actually get people, because technology in the West helps people advance in their business and whatever that they want to do, but here, do you think that we're embracing that culture?
I think that we're coming to it. Before, Facebook is the most visited site in Ghana, and before that, people weren't using technology as much. But now people are on Facebook, they are on WhatsApp, they are using different things. So we may not be as advanced as the West, but I think that people are getting it now. With all these online shops like Tonatone, you have people that are putting their products online as opposed to just putting them in the shops. We work with small and medium scale enterprises, and I've had a couple of clients who want e-commerce websites. They want to sort of put their businesses out there. They want a mobile solution where they can put their business out there. So I feel like we're coming to the point where people are getting that you can't just open one small storefront in Osu and think that's it. No, you have to reach out. You have to reach out, and you have to go where the market is, and the market is online on Facebook.
Don't you think that there will come a time when everything will be done on the internet?
Definitely.
People, because I know that in for example, the post office in England was complaining because people are not posting letters anymore, they're sending emails. People are not going to shops anymore, so everything is now being done electronically.
There's even Internet of Things where you can communicate with your fridge, for example, and shut it down from your office if you think the light is fluctuating. So, yeah, definitely. So everything's going to be online.
So before you guys go, I want to ask you one question. Would I walk into your house and think that there's technology all around you?
Well, you wouldn't walk into my house now and think that there's technology all around. You see a couple of computers and stuff like that, but one of the things in the future, you will walk into my house and think you walked into the Jetsons, because there's this cool thing called the Adrenos that we're starting to sort of invest in and get to use to do all these cool things like turn on the lights and all those things. So maybe now you wouldn't see it, but 5 years, if you walk into my house, you think you would have come to a different space.
What about you, Anne?
You wouldn't. Maybe I have too many phones.
How many phones do you have?
I don't want to talk about that.
Are you serious? And do you answer each and every one of them?
It's not really for calls, it's for development. I have feature phone, then I have BlackBerry, then I have Android, I have iOS, just because I want to know
need them all for something else.
Yeah,
so it's part of they're tools for your trade, aren't they? Really,
tools.
Okay, so don't make excuses for that. They are tools for your trade. You need them to
but I also enjoy having them around.
You do?
Yeah.
So you are a phone person?
Yes, kind of.
Are you?
Not really. I'm more I have one track, so I have only one phone. If I have more than one phone, I will be. But like Anne said, they are tools for trade. I don't do as much mobile, so I don't have that many, phones for testing and things like that. But I just have one phone. What you see more is laptops. After that one, they're scattered all over the place.
You have laptops all over the place.
All over, different sizes, Chromebooks, different types. Especially because we work with the girls, so there are different types. There's the playbook, so different types of laptops. As for that one.
Well, then we know everybody has a weakness. If yours is laptops, and yours is telephones, that's fine. Now, what do you say is the way forward for us to get more women into this profession?
We said it, and role models is one. Number two is having like this program. I think this is great because it's sort of a mouthpiece, and this is conversational. Before these kinds of things, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with fashion, but most of the media was dominated with a lot of fashion and entertainment, which is fine. But if we had things like this where it could be more mainstream. So what Tech Needs Girls is doing is we're doing it, but we're doing it like small, and we're actually going to do a sensitization exercise because we realize that parents are not getting even why why the kids should come. So we are sort of doing something and educating the girls, but we realize that it does not work because they go back home and the mother is like, why are you wasting your time with this laptop thing? Do something else. You have chores, you have this. So we also have to work on educating the parents to understand the value. So one of the good things is just also for media to sort of come in and give sort of a spotlight on women in technology or women using technology or being technology creators and make it something that is cool or fun to do, so that we kill that stereotype of the nerd and the geek. Every time I walk in, people are expecting something different. So that it becomes something that is acceptable. It's cool to be a woman coder, and I think the media would really help to sort of send that message and make it seem that it's something cool and not like people have that mentality that you have to be a certain type of way, or you don't have social skills if you're a coder, or it's not something that's for women. So we really need the media to help also.
I mean, the thing is that we just, I guess, like you're saying, we just have to push in the right direction.
Yes.
And I think that I was happy you mentioned the front on the parents, because parents have a major role to play. Because, most children don't even know what they want to do. So they're waiting for guidance, especially the female, the girl child, as they say here. You're a little timid, you don't know, you are waiting for somebody to guide you and say, okay, go do this, or go do that. So I think 21st century we should be getting our girls to do things that are more techie friendlier.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And not to be scared about, because there's a whole world to go. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, so I want Tech Needs Girls to be like in 5 different countries. We're actually planning to go to Nigeria next year, and I want you to hear of, like, you would have like all these women that have done all these great software and that came out of Tech Needs Girls. So I want to have started like a movement, an army of women that are bringing change using technology.
Wonderful. What about you, Anne?
I would want to see Nandi Mobile out of Ghana in maybe more than 5 different African countries, because I really want us to serve the African market, because a lot of people are already serving the Western market. It's about what are we doing for ourselves. The people in the West are coming down here trying to meet our needs, so what are we doing to meet our own needs? So that's what I want to do.
That's wonderful. But before, I did say that earlier and I've kept you here a little longer, but final words. What are your final words for a young girl who has seen you and has decided today that you're her role model?
Well, my final words are, there's nothing that's impossible. I mean, as a young person, you set your own limitations. So you tell yourself, I can't do this, I can't do that. Most of the time, you have to sort of step out and try and do, and you will find out that you have more potential than you thought. So I used to limit myself. If somebody had told me, a 16-year-old Regina, that you would be this today, I would have said no. I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I never saw myself as a leader. I always saw myself as somebody who can just follow the crowd. And when I sort of stood there and looked at myself and said, I can do it, I realized that I am a born leader. I am a natural leader. I was born to do this. So don't limit yourself. You'll be amazed at what you can do when you just try.
What about you?
The occupation has no gender. There's no female occupation and male occupation. If you just set your mind to do it, just go out there and do it, because you can do it. There's no Miss Code and Mr. Code. Code is code.
Code is code. and I think, viewers, you've heard it. As she says, Anne says, code is code. And that the profession, the field ICT knows no gender. And so women can go in and, you can call the producer after the show and get their contact details. They are wonderful role models, and they'll help you get your dream come to pass, come to bear. So I'd like to thank you for joining me the last hour, but before you go, I'd like to leave you with my quote, and that says, it's by Mozart, and it says, neither a lofty degree of intelligence nor imagination, nor both together, go to the making of a genius. Love, love, love. That is the soul of a genius.